In this segment, I intend to shed light on what can be an unpleasant topic for many, but for many of us who want to understand the darkness and the causes for the destruction of the DNA and mutation of the human genome, particularly, this becomes very important. So what I'm going to talk about today is the false light movement and the agendas, particularly the New Age movement. I call it the New Age trap. The New Age movement is considered false light because so much of it is designed to prime our bodies, to prime the bodies of unsuspecting hosts, prime it for possession. And this is done very cleverly within a framework of artificially sustained creation and energies and light. So why am I bringing this topic to light? And that's because many reasons. First of all, I want to spread the truth out there to make sure that people are aware that there's two sides they need to look at and not just fall into the narrative that's been presented to us. So this is an alternate viewpoint, and I want to say, if you're not ready to hear the alternate viewpoint, then leave this session now, because it's not for you. This will really go down the rabbit hole very deeply, and it can be quite triggering and even at times confronting as well, because it does shake us up from inside out. It shakes us to the core sometimes, because we've all at some point been, or still are maybe to an extent, in the trap. We haven't freed ourselves completely from what we know, what is termed as Metatronics. Today may be a long session because there is so much to cover from my end, from the main deceptive agendas at play, how to discern false light from true light. And I want to, as always, I end my podcast with remedies and solutions to gain sovereignty and to learn about techniques that we have, thankfully, we have available to bioregenerate. So if you want to learn how to recognize false light, the solution is in the Freedom Teachings. You don't want to skip any parts of this segment. And if you do have trouble with, if time is a problem, then you can watch it in installments maybe. So, but I want to make sure that I cover all the points that I'm here to do and try not leave anything out. So it may be a long segment because, to be honest, it's very, very hard to summarize it all in an hour or 2 hours. But hopefully I cover the main points. Okay, disclaimer, once again, this segment's not for everybody. If you're not ready to explore the world of darkness and what challenges our inner light and our continuity, then this is not for you. Please return when you are ready. Now, most of the New Age movement right now is running on Metatronic codes. This is a big shock because to many of the New Agers, light is light. There is no difference between yellow light, bright light, and where it comes from. It's all the same. If you do not know what Metatronic codes are, please refer to the older videos on our channel in which I extensively explain, and in simple codes, the Metatronic codes and the unnatural anti-life codes that reverse the organic templating of living beings and primes them for body snatching, especially those unaware of agendas being played out and who they're giving their power and force to. So all this is covered in previous episodes, and this one is specifically aimed at going down the rabbit hole, like I said, in depth. There is a deception happening right now, whether we want to admit it or not. And it's a very, very large scale deception, more than we can easily comprehend, which we concurrently experience an expedited healing journey at the same time. So the two are happening concurrently. This, in brief, makes this hour we're living in right now a very interesting one for all of us. Okay, now I want to say that Metatronics are all around us. So don't just think in terms of AI and, the obvious ones like technology. Think of it as distorted codes embedded in the very fabric of the field in which we live in. They're reverse or anti-life codes found in things that we're unaware of, like food, art, language, customs, traditions, science, religious beliefs, political, economic systems, healing systems, fashion, media, and on a personal level, even our belief systems, mental and emotional processes, even the thoughts we think and the air we breathe. Metatronics are what we call anti-life codes. They have a lot to do with why we're here, the hour we're in right now. And they have a lot to do with the degeneration of the DNA from the time of its inception. And there's a history that goes back millions, if not billions of years, that I will be explaining today as well. It's important that we become aware of what constitutes false light, because it's all built on Metatronics. So that's like the operating system, if you like. There's a tiny bit of truth, and that tends to be the trap, that people are pulled to the truth, but then there is something called poltering going on, so the truth is all mixed up with mostly inverted and twisted lies to cause confusion. It's also why we must peel the layers slowly, one by one. We cannot free ourselves completely from Metatronics in like a day or a year. It takes a lot longer. It's a process of undoing. It's a process of unveiling and shedding millions of years of distortions and reversals. And yes, we're here right now to do exactly this. It takes time, and for ourselves included, if we present something, sometimes with all honesty, we present it, we put a little bit of background music, but then we realize later on, the frequency of the music may have been, from Metatronic source. It's all mixed into the field that we're living in, and to be 100% free from all Metatronics is quite impossible at this stage. So every day we're learning, every day we're reading from the freedom teachings, we're getting messages by direct cognition because we're activating, and it prompts a change. So every time we learn something new, it prompts a change, an undoing, a release, and a step closer to freedom for our souls from what is really harming our spiritual evolution for so long. So the New Age narrative is seldom challenged, and this is why I'm here presenting this episode. For many reasons, mainly because it's pleasantly soothing to the mind, especially in the dark times when people have nowhere to go but to seek comfort in what is termed as a savior in these dark ages. And secondly, people, avoid coming out publicly criticizing anyone, let alone a very big movement like the New Age movement, from fear. They don't do it for fear of being ostracized, shamed, and even ridiculed. We do not have fear, okay? In terms of like what we're doing, we don't have fear because, well, we're not doing anything wrong. We're just merely bringing the truth out. And the evidence is here to support us. It's all around for those who have eyes to see. I have evidence and I can back up everything that I'm saying. I will take you through the multiple layers and types of false light today. Some are overt, easily noticed, and others are deeply covert agendas, very difficult to detect. Ultimately, both share one thing in common. Both give nothing but false hope. False hope. Idol worship is akin to celebrity worship. It's a deep alien mind control programming installed in our subconscious for thousands of years. Most of the time, people are running these programs unconsciously with no awareness of its implications on their welfare, health, and well-being, never mind their mind, their body, and spiritual freedom. Now, before I take you on a deep dive, I want to make a disclaimer that everything said in this video is our own interpretation, with references, of course, from the Freedom Teaching text, as well as Ashayana and Michael Dean's statements, who are Melchizedek Cloister Emerald Order Speakers 1 and 2. There will be personal opinions expressed throughout this podcast. Therefore, please take what resonates and leave the rest. Please also, we encourage you highly to conduct your own research and arrive at your own conclusions when it comes to matters like this, because what we share on our channel is solely for the purpose of awakening you to the subtle things that may go unnoticed about everything, and it can be triggering sometimes, So yeah, we invite you to also discuss, ask relevant questions respectfully, and feel free to subscribe and like, of course, and share within circles you would deem benefit from this information presented. Okay, so Carl Jung, a famous psychotherapist, said that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their own souls. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Never a truer statement said, and no one could have articulated this better. For many millennia, darkness has had its place in our society. In fact, humanity was on the brink of its third extinction if it weren't for the guardian races, the indigo race, who basically the indigos are advanced human race. The guardian races here on Earth ran what it's called the round tables. If it weren't for that, we would have been in deep trouble. This, of course, is not a new thing. Darkness, that is. It's had its place in our cosmos for millions and millions of years. In fact, it goes back 550 billion years ago in what we know as linear time. Events like galactic wars, electric wars, Gaian wars all took place hundreds of million years ago. In fact, the electric wars went for 1,000 years. Last 1,000 years. This was a spiritual war on a very big galactic scale between negative and fallen races fighting for dominion over galactic, planetary, and Earth's grids, while the emerald races, of course, get caught in the crossfire. The wars are usually spiritually driven. They may look like they're not, but they're spiritually driven. Those who have lost connection to the spirit realm want to vampire on others who still maintain a little bit or partial or full connection to the highest spiritual realms. Ashayandadin explains what is happening now is, quote unquote, transposition of race identity, which means progressive, slow, over time, forced hybridization amongst race groups, literally diluting the human gene code. How is this relevant to the false light movement? Well, one of the false light movements is a New Age agenda, which aims to do exactly this, which is the transposition of the race identity. Some of the New Age teachers know that. Some have fallen in the nets, traps and snares and have lost their shields completely. The New Age pushes the unity movement so hard, and you wonder why they do that. Now, this may look good on the surface. We're all one, we're all the same, we're all one. But deep down, there is something more sinister happening. There is a transposition of race identity, an entire race, and that's the human race. This has been going on for a very long time to take away the power of the human gene code to run the Templar, which are the Earth's stargates, primary stargates. As many of you know, the original intention of the creation of human DNA, human race, is for the protection of Earth's sacred stargates known as the Templars or stargates. Now, despite the endless attempts to dilute the gene code completely to the point of annihilation, only twice was this successful. Third time right now, they're attempting again, but this will not be successful because this time we've had help from the guardian races. We have the technology to enable our gene activation to go through the stargates unscathed, an ability to understand the nature of the battle. So we're more educated, more aware, and we have the technology and the support right now. This time, the negative efforts to completely eradicate the human genome has been thwarted. Still, here, thanks largely to the collective awakening of the Indigo's race, also known as the SWAT team, and luckily the Emeria arcs of the Ruche Christic pillars also beaming right now. So it's very crucial time to make up your mind, to align to these energies, this timeline that you want to be aligned to or not. There's a free will respected. Neighbors, the Aquarians, the Aquafarians from the adjacent Akasha system, extending their assistance to us right now, thankfully, firstly stabilizing our sun, our solar sun, and secondly opening the arcs to their Akasha system, which they're going to be hosting us into when the time comes. This is called an evacuation starfire ascension plan commencing in 2037. But today I want to focus primarily on what constitutes the false light and what is going to prevent and thwart your progression or your evolution into the next level up, if you like. So the planet right now, I want to mention, is based on a vampiric system. If you're not sure what I'm referring to here, please watch my other videos, namely the Cycles of the Yugas, the Hive Mind, Fall of Atlantis and Ascension, and Kabbalah versus Cathara videos. They'll give you the background knowledge, what you need to know, in which I expound in depth on the fallen consciousness and what constitutes vampirism. Ashayana Dean explains, like I said, the transposition of race identity movement, which progressively over time is meant to dilute the human gene. So we want to be careful of this trap that's been set up for us. Okay, and hopefully after watching this video, it would deter you from subscribing fully and giving your trust to an unknown person, a power that's perceived as something higher or better or more knowledgeable. Anyway, I'll go through those points, so hopefully you will get a very good idea after this. Spiritual influences consciously or unconsciously promote the unity movement disguised as love and light to make it appealing for all of us. Little do they know about true light when they're not even connected to their true organic hearts and without any effort whatsoever to firstly clear themselves of energetic imprints. Imprints as in implants, and remove seals and clear the black hearts in various density levels like the heart of Anubis. New Age influencers know nothing about any of this. They do not even know the true meaning of love beyond the surface level interpretation. So love and light appeals to the majority because it's comforting. It's like a comforting blanket, but it's only surface level. The idea that we're all one, of course, appeals to so many people, to the majority, in fact. And of course, why wouldn't it? It appeals to me personally. It has at one point. But then I woke up to the fact that, hang on, what's behind this? Why does it feel good? But there's something about it that doesn't feel right. Is it realistic? Is it factual? Is it achievable? Is it truly how I feel about every being on this planet, even the ones destroying our Akasha? Even the ones destroying the human race, the solar system, the planet? Is it true fact that on all levels beyond the material plane that we could actually successfully exist in unity? Yeah, so according to the Guardian teachings, we created as one initially. The intention of unity was embedded in the idea of first creation from the primal light and sound fields all the way down to the matrix system that we live in. When shadow dancer races who embodied the Metatronic codes emerged from the Wizardek black hole that was created 150 billion years ago, and after their universal system, Veka system, from a different Akasha fell into anti-Christos black hole status, this is when the shadow dancers started to lurk into our system. So when you hear about attachments, shadow dancers, entities, fragmented consciousness, this goes way back. This is not like a product of the last 500 years. This goes way, way back. It's an ancient problem. But In every era, in every period and age, there's always been resolutions offered for bioregenesis. Because in truth, light does override darkness. True light, that is, overrides darkness, even when it appears not to. In truth, we all exist in the realm of the Creator. No matter where we go, we exist uniquely in our individual qualities, but also on that one universal field. We really bonded together for millions, even billions of years for two primary things that bond us together. It's the nature of our Creator, no matter where we are. We exist uniquely as one, and we bonded together for millions of years because of the nature of our eternal consciousness, that no matter how much they wipe our memories, we have not forgotten this very truth. It's innate within us. Even if they wipe our memories clean slate, we still know deep down that we are part of the eternal consciousness. Even negative beings seem to search for that something that can return them to that one place, that one field of unified consciousness. And they want that something that returns them home. And they did fall off the path, but eventually every soul is in search for that ultimate truth, ultimate freedom. And the second reason we bonded together is we are free in our unique expressions and choices because we reside in the Akasha system, where free will is completely honored. Each of us has the same birthright to make individual choices unique to us, and that's always honored, no matter what. Arguably, most incarnated here right now find it somewhat challenging, to love a being who has caused them harm. Freedom teachings teach us that if we remember the field where we all come from before that dualistic expressions start to infiltrate, it will help us to override some of that dislike, resentment, and aversion we hold towards others. Not easily done, but it's the Christic attitude, it's a Christic behavior to do that. This is not saying, it's not the same thing as enabling behavior or anti-Christic behavior, to be specific. Rather realize that we have the birthright to exercise free will when making choices for ourselves, and so do they. So, of course, love, we can, of course, love the being itself, but hate the behavior, but realize there is no thing or being who escapes the consequences of their behavior. And I guess this is our solace and consolation, to know that they too can evolve, and we can all go back one day to the place we call unity consciousness after even millions of years or billions of years of evolution. So right now, the hour we're in, there are so many false light agendas at play, and I'm going to start going through those one by one. And there are telling signs as well to detect false light and astral bliss. So I will begin now by false light number 1, and that is, of course, a channeling movement. Channeling movement is a word that denotes, or channeling is a word that denotes connecting with quote-unquote higher beings. This movement in itself hides behind its alluring facade many layers of deception to boost ego of those who appear to, quote-unquote, have ascended. The New Age community is nothing more than a spiritual drug, addiction circles siphoning off one another, reinventing the persona to detach them from their trauma, which is always healed in their eyes. Those who appear to have awakened lived in a false ego-driven reality of fake spiritualism, funneling false channelings to those who are deemed less awakened, ostracizing anyone who raises eyebrows or dares to question the authenticity of the information. Now, this movement is popular because it provides a false sense of positivity, security, and hope, and everyone wants hope. There is a lack of boundaries though, a discouraging of authentic emoting like anger, sadness, and frustration, and there's a discouragement and even strong criticism of anyone who emotes such emotions. It's even seen as evil, and sometimes they're ostracized so badly and axed out of the group because they're emoting these emotions. There's a complete loss of power as spiritual bypassing actually becomes the pathway forward, as opposed to genuine inner work. You don't see genuine inner work in those circles. You see evasion, you see denial, cognitive dissonance, and bypassing, complete bypassing to the realm of hope, false bliss, and false light. Similar to Christianity, Islam, for instance, you have priests, you have imams, they're figureheads, channel forth partially truthful information, as every religion actually contains splinters of wisdom surrounded by indoctrination. This is called paltering, meaning truths masqueraded as lies, or truths mixed up with lies. So it becomes a mixed bag. And literal rules are made to be followed, and there's a lack of boundaries enforced conveniently to breach the moral sanctity of children. Authentic emotion discouraged, and people are shrouded in shame if they do not follow the rules of the church or the institution. New Age channeling has become just like that. It looks nicer, it's packaged nicer, but it's the same. It's likened to a painkiller of the wound, bypassing the root cause of the problem in favor of bypassing pain. So like I said, it's called spiritual escapism, the masking over pain with false positivity and temporary instances of bliss, hope, and happiness. It's turning attention outwards to obtain a solution rather than navigation of one's own consciousness and mapping one's own consciousness for inner solutions through the light, through the dark, through the painful, through the painless, through the pleasurable, through the unpleasurable. Channeling goes hand in hand with false positivity. It promises feasible solutions, happiness, castles on clouds, but it's an escape module to keep us dumbed down, asleep within the confines of a dreamt world, how we like it to be on the surface, bypassing all the myriad paths that dig into the wounds and the avoidance of growing pain. The channeling movement is based on the assumption that higher means someone better, more evolved, greater. According to the freedom teachings, this thinking is a trap in itself, because this is the reason angels were given a higher status than the rest of humans and mankind, because it's assumed. And again, I stress the word assumed. It's assumed they were all messengers of God, sit between us and the God, and they're chaperones, they're guides, they're helpers in times of need, so we should go through them to connect with God. People have given their power away to communicate with supposedly, quote unquote, higher beings of light. When we can realize that higher means evolved in terms of DNA, but does not equate to being more compassionate, more empathic, loving, that is when we truly seek what we deem as angelic, but as attribute to the self. So we become the angelic, holding the angelic attributes within us rather than outside of us. In fact, angelic realm is heavily plagued with fallen consciousness factions. True historical accounts tell us that fallen angelics have caused and have been behind so many mass dramas on earth that are beyond repair, only because people trusted them fully, put their trust in them. And of course, when you put trust in something fully without questioning intention, it becomes a very dangerous recipe for disaster. All thanks to the setup, subsequently trapping us in a miasmic devolutionary fall within the fallen consciousness because of the trust we gave them when we were told to trust them because they're higher. That's the only reason, is trust them because they're higher. They sit on a higher dimensional level. Till now, people pray to angels. Till now, people ask angels for assistance, for help. Angels, in biblical term, are helpers of God on earth and guides in the afterlife. In the freedom teachings, angels are second and third density beings who have ability to co-create, but their realm is not perfect or free from distortions. Angels can be fallen angelics. They can commit really, really big, massive destruction. They don't necessarily mean that all pure consciousness, like they've been purported as miracle workers. There is a fallen angelics video on our channel for the reference if you'd like to check it out and know more about fallen consciousness, fallen angelic consciousness. Okay, I'm going to move on to false light number 2. False light number 2 is avoidance of pain and darkness. So anyone who's teaching avoidance of pain and darkness. Here's a quote from Michael Dean that I found relevant. I quote, "Avoiding the negative creates polarity consciousness. Unity consciousness can only come about through acknowledging everything. One doesn't have to like it. Of course, no one will. Of course, one will not. Yet through pretending it doesn't exist, one is energetically feeding, setting up polarity, the opposite of what is purportedly sought. The path to perfection cannot be found by avoiding the imperfect," unquote. People who avoid negativity at all costs don't realize the disservice they're doing themselves first and foremost. By denying that particular aspect of reality, they're actually denying their own growth, they're denying their own evolution and fulfillment of Christic purpose. So anyone out there teaching the denial and the bypassing of shadow work, healing work, darkness, polarity consciousness, then they're really working for false light. Okay. False light number 3. False ascension teachings include false Merkaba mechanics for ascension. That's a really big one. It's been happening for a long time. Well, it's more appropriate to say dissension, isn't it? Because if it's false ascension, that means it's dissension. It means it's taking you down into a downward spiral. Because the ascension mechanics that plague the New Age community right now are actually all built on false markers and counterfeit teachings of the real thing. So they've taken the real thing, copied it and made it their own, but added their own bits of information to cause confusion. They're designed to transport the practitioners of these mechanics into false light, false bliss domains, where they're bombarded with light, and that's been described as an enlightening experience. So you go into meditation, you go into bliss states, and you see the light, and you've attained enlightenment. Thoth has immortalized himself through the Metatronic body. He shapeshifts into newly awakening indigos, holograms, through what is called as Astral Bliss, or fake spiritual high experiences, to implant them into the Yahweh Dark Flowering CD-ROM programs, the Magenta Race Army of Enki and Enlil, or Enki and Thoth. This is called dot adjusting into the hive mind and black cube matrix, which I will cover in great detail in this segment. He also goes by the name of Raphael in the Archangel Pantheon. These programs take you into lower astral, where you encounter yourself in the astral, into the heart chakra form dimension, and you expect there a sense of elation and bliss and supernatural experiences akin to like meeting your higher self. What you instead meet is 4D astral bliss experiences run by Metatronic software, or Metatronic false Holy Spirit Yahweh lenses out of the Wizardek and Abaddon realms. In other words, hell. So, all because you haven't felt any other connection outside of the 3D matrix, and sometimes when it hits and you experience something different, you think that it's like a spiritual realm of a higher nature. But it's artificial. It's like an artificial mood enhancing drug. They give you just temporary experiences of fake astral bliss. It's not the same thing as that everlasting, unconditional love experience, okay, which I will expound on through this podcast in great detail. So false light number 4, religion and Saturnian network. That's the big one that I want to focus on today. I know this can be shocking, but religion is the part of the New Age movements. So a lot of the Christians are then right now waiting for the rapture and thinking, okay, this is a good podcast right now. We're going to listen to false light. It's anything but Christian dogma. This is going to be shocking for you, but you might want to listen to it. I speak of religion being the dogmatic texts only, not the ancient texts that were founded on the Maharata CD2 plates that carry their own innate wisdom that we love to listen to. I'm talking about the dogmatic texts that have been twisted, changed, and remade basically to create like a dogma on earth. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, I've previously delved deep into these topics in other videos, so please feel free to navigate through them. The religions tell you that the serpent represents a kundalini which embodies dimensional currents 1 to 9, which is a frequency spectrum which comes out of the larger Kireshe and Kundare primal light and sound fields. Serpent in most contexts is a code for Caduceus control network, which links Thoths checkerboard sonic mutation software through the Nabirian diotic crystal grid network to digress human genetics further into the Metatronic hive mind called dot adjusting. So Kundalini means breathing and thinking. The Kundalini radar race teachings were restricted to breathe, to anchor in consciousness and control the mind, therefore disguising itself as reversal Kundalini AI currents. So the reverse to primal natural currents is AI currents. So you use the Kundalini to manipulate that life force and siphon what we've got in terms of life force. To feed the Caduceus networks, they created a big massive serpent grid which connects to the cube matrix software. Okay, the black cube is, now this is interesting, the black cube is found as a religious site, highly worshipped, sacred, in a holy site in Saudi Arabia. Many towers around the world, Trump Towers, the Teflon, the black cube, the black leather box, which strapped here, that the Orthodox Jewish people put on their heads as good mitzvah, which is a good common practice during morning prayers. And observant Jews consider wearing a teflon is a command. They've been commanded to do that. So there's a lot of black cube representations out there. If you have eyes to see, you can see it everywhere. By the way, the Caduceus was elaborated upon in great detail in the Fall of Atlantis video. So if you want to listen to that after this, it will give you a good insight into the Caduceus network. Now, this all may be a coincidence, but it's also worth unveiling. There's a private agency in Tel Aviv, in Israel, called Black Cube. Also linked to the Mossad agency, this private Black Cube refers to the next computer, a machine built in 1988 by Steve Jobs, his company of the same name that was founded in 1985 after he left Apple. An avid researcher by the name of Dr. Morris examines the ambivalent role of Saturn in various religious and magical traditions around the world, especially focusing on Islamic, classical, and Indian cults. Fleshing out the common traits underlying Saturn's global manifestation, Dr. Morris argues for a perennial cult of Saturn expressed in various cultural guises. He speaks of comprehensive armory, massive armory of occult weaponry to initiate Saturnian contact and to establish individual cults of Saturn through worship and through magic. So this has become mainstream, okay? Now, why is this significant? Because research suggests that in essence, we're trapped in space and we're trapped in time inside a cube by the Saturn matrix control system. It's called this Tesseract cube. So meticulously advanced, this cube, that, so if you want to take a look at Norman Bergrun's Ringmakers of Saturn research, delves deep into that. Having the world's ruling elite and their mysterious associations or associates through the generations been playing us into servitude like a violin string, using this extraordinary advanced technological Saturn matrix control system. So yes, they've been doing that, but then again, they're not, because we're in possession of biospiritual technology to free ourselves from our control system. So when we wake up, it should be easy for us to disconnect. Like, you know, it's not a like, oh, maybe I'll see how it goes. It's like yes or no. You're either in or you're not. And this is all goes back to how much Metatronic codes in your template and how much you can restore those. So all of us have hope. All of us can restore, and I will talk about this in a bit. Freedom teachings tell us that connections to the black cube software system, Toth and his teachings is false light. It's been said that in the matrix control system, Saturn is the mainframe computer powered up by the sun's photonic energy. So the Saturn sends out information received by the moon, which acts as some kind of like interface modular system, okay, where it gathers information. Then moon in turn sends the communication signals to Earth, beaming Earth, using virtual instrumentation, producing a simulated information, which is holographic, which is like imitating the real, but it's not real. The fake reality we receive and we believe is actually true when it's not. So the moon artificially controls our thoughts unless and until we can wake up from that. Also, the moon artificially controls a woman's fertility and menstrual cycle, and therefore controls the incarnational gates of all those who choose the endless reincarnational loop into the third density, or third dimensional reality. This occurs through the artificial net, which has been cast upon the Earth through the magnetosphere, responsible for keeping the veils of deception in place within the collective mind, generating shadow bodies and layers of negative imprinting, sexual misery, victimization programs, which can only occur through separation from our Holy Mother, our original cosmic womb of creation. So this creates that false negative or false positive feeling of like a motherly connection where it's just feeding on our miseries basically and running those in a loop. Each month when it's full moon, people do the exact same things. It just runs and runs in cycles and loops, and it gets worse and worse. So like anger, for example, if you're storing anger and you're not working on transmuting anger into a better manifestation of that energy, then it's just going to amplify each month with the full moon, because it's creating that effect within your second dimensional emotional body. The assimilation of this fake reality inside the inescapable matrix has been used as a platform for those seemingly never-ending cycles related to reincarnation, to suffering, death, disease, and famine. Eastern texts tell us that there is no escape from the reincarnational loop. If you do bad things, you come back as in a place, you're born in a place where you're gonna go through so much suffering and endless sufferings and bad health and poverty and famine and all that. But of course that's not true. This is the reality they created for us, and they've given us this fake story so they can keep us trapped in these cycles. Now, what's interesting is the North Pole of Saturn is actually said to be a hexagon, which is a 6-sided polygon. Funny enough, a beehive is hexagon as well. So when you start making these connections, you can see how they come up with all these different terms and things. You can see bee symbology, and that relates to the monarchy. And in ancient Rome, bees were actually symbolic of the emperors and their authority only. So the role of the queen, the monarchy, it's a Saturnian connection, also connecting to the moon, to the Baphomet network. It's a very, very large network of reversals and artificial lights that we're plugged into. Thankfully, we now have that technology called flame body activations to unplug. You're a decision away from activating your true organic body and overriding Metatronics. And I found it very shocking because some people know about flame bodies, but they don't have time to activate. It's like, do you not want to be free? Do you want to be tied to this fake reality for forever? So it's a bit strange. But anyway, I have expounded on these connections in my other videos, and I'll be also facilitating group sessions online to guide people through those healing techniques, through shadow healings. And I will announce the date this is starting very shortly. But in the meantime, you can express your interest by writing to us, collectiverising@protonmail.com. Now, fifth false light that I want to talk about today is false ascension agenda and its connection to the fifth dimension, otherwise known as 5D, and the age of Aquarius. At some point, I was so tired and sick of hearing about 5D. I myself must admit, I found the idea quite, I think we fell into it, but only a touch, and then quickly realized that, hang on, something's not right. Like, you have those inner detectors, you have your apathy. When they're switched on, they can detect something that just doesn't feel right. It's just, I felt that it lacked integrity, the source of that knowledge, depth, and authenticity. And the main thing is these people that are spreading the 5D agenda, they couldn't be challenged. You couldn't challenge them. It's like they shut you down, they block you out. And I will talk about these signs where you're able to detect and discern false light in a minute. But I just want to go through the agendas first. So the 5D collective ascension agenda and unity movement is tied with the savior agenda. They go hand in hand. It's always like, if you want to be 5D, you're going to be saved. And this is a person that's going to come and save you from all this suffering that's going on. The labels that go with false ascension narrative give people special positions of power over others. So people love that position of power. The narrative gives rise, of course, to false gurus, to teachers, masters, rishis who claim that they are star seeds, but only are channeling Metatronic data from the astral net field. These are titles that boast the false egoic self and identity of somebody who wants power, who wants fame. They don't teach profound knowledge. They have nothing profound. They have no evidence of anything pertaining to the nature of the cosmos, the tangible structure of the soul, consciousness, creation, manifestation, true ascension mechanics, and eternal life. They have nothing to back up what they say, except I channeled Metatron. Metatron said this. I channeled Archangel Michael, and he said this, and you should all believe this channeling. You know, you have Bashar, you have, you know, all these channelers that are claiming they have direct contact with higher beings, but, you know, they don't. It does not even begin to touch on what truly constitutes ascension, other than fabricated fancy mixture of words channeled by some unknown extraterrestrial or interdimensional beings. Even the people who claim they channel them, like I said, they're not able to validate the information because they themselves are so triangulated, sadly, in the false light and literally binded to true light, to the false light. Besides, they have done zero shadow work themselves. They just wake up one day and they feel like, oh, I can relay something that I've seen, a vision or something. And then they start, and then people boost their confidence so much by subscribing, giving attention to something is going to amplify it, whether it's evil or good, you know. So you have to be careful who you're giving your energy to. It's like the news. If you continue to watch the news, it's just going to fulfill that agenda that they're hoping that fulfill. So it's like a lamb to the slaughter type thing. Sounds sweet on the outside, but it's a trap. A place freedom teachings calls the black hole system. Something that cannot be undone once someone's Christic codes drop below 31 to 33%. It is said that they enter a complete monadic reversal and have no way out of the black hole system. So yes, a cleverly executed trap, especially to entrap indigos and humans who hold the genetic keys to guard the stargates and ascend other beings out of the time matrix. So they want a complete dominion over those stargates, over the whole system, the entire system. They're not happy with just a couple of stargates. They want the whole system. The 5D Ascension agenda gives promises of bliss, promises you bliss. It is a complex yet cleverly orchestrated system of deception where you have entities feeding off people who connect to the false white light at the 4D octave in the astral plane. And it's a lie. There is no bliss once we arrive, because bliss is not found at an arrival point. Bliss is found in the soul that exists within the eternal organic framework structure of consciousness, or it's already existing in those higher planes in a blissful state. In Sanskrit, the true bliss, it's called Ananda, true bliss. Higher bliss is a state of inner silence and stillness. It is stable and unchanging. It doesn't go through times of, I'm not blissful now. I was blissful yesterday. I can be blissful tomorrow, but right now I'm not. This is just your identity and the waves that are creating ripple effects on the top, because deep down the soul is always in bliss because it's perpetually connected to the source of eternal life. Once an individual abides in the realm of knowledge, truth, and unconditional love, and once he or she has transcended the duality, conflict, and polarization dramas, freedom from attachments and identifications to the physical experience and realm that we perceive on this level of existence as permanent or really real, then the veils are removed and the seer, the consciousness, the seer can only then abide in her true blissful state. This is bliss. Bliss is joy. It's perpetual joy. And it's not false happiness or false positivity. Bliss is deeply rooted in self-realization, knowing thyself. Jeff Foster said it best, and I quote, "Love and light and bliss is just a cop-out, a distraction, a terrible lie. You're angry or hurt, but then you bypass the anger and hurt and pretend to be calm, spiritual, and at peace. It's a lie, it's a terrible lie," unquote. Astral bliss is an addictive substance that is sourced from false light negative alien agenda, false ascension matrix. Okay, we come to false light number 6. It's called the Savior's Agenda and the Unity, aka We're All One movement. The Savior archetype has the Hindus waiting for Kalki since 3,700 years, Buddhists waiting for Maitreya for 600 years, Jews waiting for the Messiah for 2,500 years, Christians waiting on Jesus and the rapture for 2,000 years, Muslims waiting for the Messiah from the line of Muhammad for 1,300 years, and Shia waiting for Mahdi for 1,080 years, and the Druze are waiting for Hamza bin Ali for 1,900 years. It's a waiting game for them. Most religions adopt the idea of a savior and assert that the world will remain filled with evil until the savior arrives, until the true Christians, are raptured. And suddenly, like that, all problems go away and the world is filled with goodness, with righteousness and happiness. It's tied in with the false unity movement that we're all one and we're all going to ascend together as one. The Savior and Unity movement is more appealing because it's easier. It's a lot easier to place responsibility for change on outside of oneself, on someone else, as opposed to taking full responsibility of that change itself. It rips out the creative and imaginative, intelligent faculties, and it creates a world of inertia, awaiting a savior to fix all of it and everything that's misaligned and wrong. Now, what does the word unity mean? If we explore the word unity, it refers to a binding of parts together to create a wholesome whole or a harmonious whole. In Sanskrit, the word yog, pertaining to yoga, means yoking or joining together. Nowadays, the unity movement has become significantly misused, even plagued, that it's lost its sanctified meaning. The word has lost its sanctified meaning. That promotes spiritual law of we are all one in a very, very, very sinister way. It's like when people say we're all one, they don't truly believe it, but they have to say it. False light doesn't expose evil. I've never known someone who's true light who didn't attempt to expose evil. They're all about love and light. And you mentioned evil. Don't mention evil. Don't give it energy. It's like don't feed it. But you have to mention it because it's partly why we're here, trying to get out of what we feel we're entrapped in. But yeah, you can't mention it. They even go a step further. And I've seen this firsthand. I've experienced people firsthand defending evil. So they'll say something, we're all one and our job is to love them no matter what. Love evil no matter what. Enabling, accepting evil. And they said, to add to that, they said, what is not aligned with our energies will be cleared up by the Savior. So it's just wrong on so many levels. But the reality is that there is no Savior who is going to come and make things right suddenly. We only us have that responsibility to expose false light so it doesn't consume true light, those who are trying to do the right thing. False light doesn't teach you that you can be loving and still discern evil and warn others, because we don't have to be food for evil. We don't have to be food. So we can expose it, we can talk about it. Nowadays, New Age movement uses the word unity to promote narcissism through its hierarchical foundations of twisted spiritual laws, masquerading their thirst for power as love for all or love for oneness. False light number 7, the path to the fallen matrix deceptive teachings. This one is hard to detect because of what little knowledge we have pertaining to the fallen systems. If you type up on Google fallen systems, you will not find anything about anyone except a few things, few bits and pieces here and there. There is truly no knowledge outside of the freedom teachings. So this is all linked to like Metatron fallen consciousness and Archangel fallen consciousness. I'm going to go through what that constitutes. So yeah, like I said, this one's hard to detect because of what little knowledge we have about the fallen systems. Those who teach or channel Metatron or have anything to do with the collective called Metatron are risking becoming hosts to the fallen beings from the fallen Wizardek system, who have severely misused the Templars for billions of years, creating catastrophes, wiping out, and the annihilation of an entire Rishi collective and an entire human race twice before. Till this day, they're still pursuing the total reversal of all nature, a natural life, to take it down the Metatronic path, using the eye of Metatron that they created 150 billion years ago. So the eye of Metatron channels light from a portion of the primal light field because they can't access the entire primal light field, the true Kira field. They can only access a portion of that field because they're using refraction lenses. So that's again a counterfeit copy of the true thing. What's more dangerous is the same technology was used to create a wormhole called the Path of Arimathea between Phantom and Wizardek matrices to run the Eye of Metatron. They created the BST, the Beast Machine, blank slate technology, to which Antichristos Metatronic code to artificially sustain an energy vampiring life, causing permanent, irreversible template mutation by forced electromagnetic shield bonding. So it bonds to our original templates and it causes reversals through the eye of Metatron. This is when our shadow world was born, by the way. These are the shadow dancers. They're the elemental and figment attachments. Metatronic Collective has lost a lot of their organic DNA when they literally fell into the fallen matrix or the phantom matrix millions of years ago and have failed many attempts of bio-regensis despite all the help from the guardians. Metatron masquerades as an angel being of light, and it's an entire collective, not just an angel or one being called Metatron. It's a collective. They need our codes to evolve, and for that they have to misuse the Metatronic lens to catch us into the astral field, to catch us and to capture our souls and take possessions of them so we can host their consciousness. Eye of Metatron was used to set up the first lot of black heart implants that began 570 million years ago, marking the building of their first Cathara grids for the Antichristos structure. Eye of Metatron is still here. It's in the possession of the Wizardek groups, and the Beast Machine, or the BSD, has been activated since 2003. It's claiming many souls already who are unaware of what's taking place in their shields. So they're subscribing to all the New Age agenda, false light stuff, and they're just running energy in reverse, energy reversals, and they've completely shattered their original template. Their black hole system, the Metatronic black hole system, runs in parallel to ours, and they have their stargates like we do ours. They use code words to snare the unaware. Example, one relates to a system of Christian beliefs, urging seekers to follow the path of Arimathea. And we know this is a black hole system connected to a wormhole that takes them to a black hole system. They're urging people to follow that path, convincing them it's the path of Jesus. Another planet in their black hole system they want us to align to is in their D12 planet called Athenion. D10 is Anubian, D9 is Abanti. Some teachings up there tell you it's a great place to ascend to. D8 is Uversa. D7 is Olympian. Notice the name Olympian. D6 is Apollyon. That one is linked to the beast, to the 666 gate link. Some teachings out there talk about Apollyon being the Antichrist. So that's interesting. And D5 is Atismus. And D4 is Marantia. D3 is Osirian, linked to Osiris. Until today, they still siphon into the Arimathea wormhole based in Giza. So yeah, that's still going on. People still don't question. And then we have D2 in their system is called Herculean, and D1 is Urantia. They're trying to create the cube matrix and suck as much life force as possible to sustain themselves artificially with energy, because a long time ago they disconnected from eternal life, from source. So they need a vampiric system. They have to create a sophisticated system to keep their shields charged with quanta, otherwise they're out. So this is linked to the 7 heads of the beast as well, to the artificial seed of life, Metatronic daisy of death. So see they call it sacred geometry, which is the Metatronic, the daisy of death. These are the teachings that are false light teachings. It's based on the reversal mechanics. And some people like us, we didn't know. Many years ago, we had a little bit of symbology here and there. We're clearing up things now, but it's a process. It takes time. It's not going to be done overnight. People expect that because we're teaching this, that we're 100% free from codes. No one is free from codes, Metatronic codes, but we're doing our best to free ourselves as much as we can. Like, if I'm 90% free, I'm quite happy with that, considering that most people are like nearly between 70 and 50% plagued with Metatronic codes. So yeah, be realistic with your expectations and learn to discern true light. Like, we wouldn't be teaching these things on our channel freely if we weren't about true light and really trying our best to help people see for themselves. We never push, we never deceive. Our intention is always very pure. And we try go out of our way to help people. We get a lot of emails. We get people asking questions. We always answer these questions, and we direct people to where they can see for themselves and arrive to their own conclusions instead of telling people what to believe. So yeah, be careful that you don't make blank statements. So we've had first-hand experience with this, and we're not very happy about this, because luckily only a few, but still it's not very nice when someone's trying to show the true teachings and they're labeled as false light or whatever. Anyway, we don't care about these people. We care about you, because we're on the path of true light, true ascension, true evolution. That's where we want to focus our energy, to be honest. So anyway, these teachings promote the 7 heads of the snake, and I can think of examples like Goddess Manasa, 7-head serpents, 7-headed dragon, the 7 heads of the beast mentioned in Bible prophecies, the 7 heavens, the 7 spheres. They all connect to the 7 spheres of Metatron's cube. These are all configurations tied to the black cube matrix, the eye of Metatron, the beast mechanism, the phased lock Merkaba, all of which I've talked about extensively in a previous video. Within these systems, you can't evolve. It is absolutely impossible to evolve. You just maintain a temporary life, short amount of life, electrostatically. So as long as you're running that electrostatic breath, sustaining life force, then when you're out of quanta, you're out. So your shield is fragmented, and then you go back to space dust, or you implode, basically. So be careful where you giving your attention to. Teachings of the Sephiroth, the Kabbalah, the Order of the Rose, the dot adjusting, which is basically a software to align you with the Metatronic codes, even the space of the internet that we give so much energy to every day. Try to be very discerning about these things. In the Bible, they mention the 7 heavens, and the New Age community interprets the flat earth firmament tied into the 7 heavens. Just because they mention the name firmament, it becomes like, New Age, and like, oh, so that's what they're trying to say, that earth is flat and we have the 7 heavens above and everything's stationary. Anyway, 7 heavens in Islam is mentioned as well. The Jewish rabbinic literature teaches 7 heavens as well. The Aztec goddess of fertility had 7 heads. Even Buddha was depicted as being shadowed by a 7-headed serpent, or the Naga, or a Naga, which serpents are direct representation of the Nagas, who reptilian bloodline connected to the cube matrix. There's one institution in India that's yoga-based, and they give out rings that look like serpents. It's basically a serpent ring. Yeah, so they're everywhere. There's representations of the Metatron cube everywhere. It's got the 7 spheres. It always has 7 spheres. This is, like I said, this is linked to the Eye of Metatron, the Beast Mechanism, and the Black Cube Matrix. It phase locks your Merkaba, and there's no way you can evolve in that system. So be very discerning where you give your energy to. So that brings me to the end of the first section of naming the false light agendas. In the next section, I'll provide you discernment tips to help you recognize what false light is. Okay, but before I give the false light discernment tips, I would like to give examples. This is going to be interesting because I'm going to do something here. I'm going to name a few names, okay, of well-known figures out there, public figures. I want to stress out that I don't intend to shame at all. It's not my intention. Many of these light workers are actually victims for these traps, because they don't know what the agenda is about, and you try and let them know, but they're not interested. They have no idea they're trapped in this NAA, negative alien agenda. I want to name some that I found interesting to help you discern that community or person or situation when in doubt. So by naming names, it just helps to clear that doubt, I guess. What has come up in my own research is the majority, and I mean like 9, possibly 9 out of 10, currently out there are preaching the wrong mechanisms when it comes to ascension. A lot of the teachings lack depth, and in many cases, purposely deceptive. So I don't have an issue by naming names because they've done a lot of damage already. What damage are we doing? On the other hand, nothing. We're just exposing the truth, and that's within our birthright. I intend to avoid naming names sometimes because it's not about targeting individuals, rather shedding light on the movement itself. So when I name names, I'm shedding light on the movement that they've created. I believe it is very vital, though, to be direct and give real life examples so we don't sound like we're being wishy-washy, and it may save you time also wondering. So here's my list. Okay, number 1, Ismail Perez claims in one of his videos that this incarnation is our last incarnation before we transform to, listen to this, meta-humans. He claims that these are the bodies we will keep forever, for all eternity. These are his words, straight from the horse's mouth. If this is not false light, I do not know what is. Isn't it avoidance? Isn't it false information, false light, astral bliss, false hope? Where does he get his information from? Isn't it promoting the idea that you don't have to do anything, just sit there and wait? That's what I've been talking about today, is this, exactly this. That's why I chose to point him out, well, not to target him individually, but the people that follow him are now, getting primed for body snatching because they're doing nothing to heal themselves. They're just sitting there, opening up their fields, opening up the anahata, the heart chakra, and waiting for possession, basically. Very sad. Another example is very common because most of the so-called light workers fall in this category. It pertains to the Alpha Omega movement, Alpha Omega agenda. It's not a positive movement. Okay, let me tell you, it's not a positive movement. It doesn't serve the light, it serves the false light. It actually serves the Wizard X, which are the fallen dark avatar groups and systems. Then let's not forget the millions out there, millions of them, promoting the work of Thoth. Like, example, Billy Carson, Eldora and Samaan. Eldora and Samaan, they have a huge following. They have their followers believing, they've had their followers believe that they, Eldora and Samaan, are incarnations of Thoth and Isis. They tend to channel false information and mix it with stolen knowledge from the freedom teachings, and net of all things. So when they channel from the net. They claim they channel it from higher source. Lately, they've been caught out and they have been named a dangerous cult. They've had numerous people make claims against them for dishonesty, for abandonment, for neglect, and even abuse, and more. So if you search the name, okay, I'll just mention one more thing before I give you a link to where you can find more information about this if you're interested. These people, when confronted, they have nothing to say. They proceed to block individuals who question their motives and true intentions. They go around the world, and this is really sad because they go around the world implanting crystals. They claim they've charged it with high frequency. Yeah, right. Often invoking Archangel Michael or Metatron or Thoth, and infusing the crystals, then proceed to scurry them all over the earth. Lately, they've gained so much following, they are literally untouchable, and they admit they're getting help from Archangel Michael, from Thoth, and they feel so powerful. They're just sitting there on their thrones waiting to be ascended. There are claims against them for abuse, extreme neglect, for also administering high doses of recreational drugs and implanting patrons during their activation retreats. Here I'll make the mention, search for the name Ebony Wilson. Her documentary is called Exposed. She's worked for them for a while, and she'll tell you all that the things that have happened, the horrific things that took place in that cult. There are ample people like this. There are ample examples. I'm not just picking on one group. There's many, many more. It's really sad because people have no clue what they're getting themselves into until sometimes they wake up much later on when their templates are so reversed and distorted, and in some cases, sadly, fully ready for hosting, for body snatching. So next example I'm going to give is the Galactic Federation cult. There's a huge group of people representing the Galactic Federation of Light, or should I say false light. They claim to channel Galactic Federation, members of light, pushing the concept of 5D and Age of Aquarius, bypassing all shadow work and healing required. They believe they're handpicked to save the world. The starseeds, light workers, 5D people, anyone on the path of unity consciousness is being promoted, is going to ascend and evolve. They push the narrative of love and light the most. Ashayana would say, love, light, and clueless. It makes me laugh. They have no idea what they stand for, who they channel, or who they're reporting to, but they're very confident with themselves. They're very confident about one thing, that they are definitely being saved by the spaceships when it's their time to be saved. So they're just waiting. They're just waiting. They're saying that the dark age is over and now light has won. The whole Love and Light collective is entering into a golden era. Ascension to Gaia, yes, bypassing Tara. This is to deter people from doing the inner shadow healing and inner work and taking personal accountability so that they can become easy targets and hosts for the dark avatars. Many people don't know they're doing this. An example of a Galactic Federation ambassador is Aurora Ray. Primary channeler of the Galactic Federation is Elizabeth April. Not to mention, Galactic Federation are also promoting and behind the light therapy technologies, the med beds, the Tesla technologies, anything that falls under quote unquote climate control, smart systems, Starlink. Jason Shoka is questionable. All this technology is being promoted as saving technology, but have you stopped to ask who and where did this technology come from? What does it heal exactly? How long do the effects last? If you do heal, how long do the effects last? And what does it do to the Christic template? What about life force energy? In my opinion, it's an attempt to possess the body when the body's Christic DNA breaks down, because that becomes an easy possession then. Just have a sip of water. We're bordering on an hour and 20 minutes. Like I said, this is going to be a long one, so you may want to pause, take a break, and come back later on. That's okay. But I do want to say everything I've got to say in this one. I want to make it holistic and, wholesome. I don't want to leave anything unsaid. Now, another one is false light workers, probably one of the most reversed. And I actually dislike talking about this because I get so many raised eyebrows and people defending like so bad. They're called the moon worshippers, okay? This is, like I said before, it's linked to Saturn, it's linked to the Baphomet network, it's linked to the black cube technology, the beast system. There was a time when the ancient 12 tribes that made the planetary tribal shield, the Magis and their Grey Lines, there's a time when they acknowledged the period when the moon wasn't visible in the sky. So at that time, there was no moon. They called this time the Pro-Calanes. The ancients described the moon as hollow, like an egg, with its yolk removed to depict that it was being used as a space station to monitor the Earth and influence its energetics. They're telling us this from ancient times. Our moon, simply put, is a satellite. It picks up energetic information from Saturn's broadcasting grid. The moon then takes the information and directs it to our planet, where the transmissions are then received by the Earth's crystal core. The crystal core then transmits these vibratory signals out to the inhabitants of the planet, which affects our consciousness. It affects the water bodies on Earth, but it affects our consciousness because our second chakra, second dimensional emotional body, is directly linked to water element. This is why we feel emotional turbulence and amplification of all the emotions we're feeling on full moon days. The moon has been used to anchor in the magnetic antichrist scalar waves as a set of instructions to fulfill the negative alien agendas, to take over planetary grids and stargates and control the elite puppets as pawns. The relationship between Saturn and moon is coherent in that the moon's 29.5 cycles a day keep us hormonally tied to the tiny repeating cycles and the 29.5 year cycle of Saturn, 29.5. This locks us into a societal structure not visible by the naked eye. So you can't just tell somebody, oh, here, look, it's not visible by the naked eye, which is hard sometimes to prove it. But it comes to us as an inner knowing, really. If you feel it, it doesn't feel right. If it doesn't feel right, then it's not right. Knowing that what we know about the moon now and the large groups of spiritual influencers out there teaching the way to the moon, worshipping the moon, doing moon rituals, summoning the moon energy, cleansing their crystals in the moonlight, and all that. That's all contributing to that fake false light movement, keeping themselves locked into the triangulation of that Saturn moon conjunct network, and siphoning therefore the life force energy eventually. Most of these are new ages, dark witchcraft, organized occult, Thoithian schools of hidden mysteries, Kabbalah, and many more. So moon rituals is a big thing within the pagan circles as well, new age groups all over the world. This too is creating a massive link into the wormhole systems that feed off the energy given on those full moon days, charging the fallen grids and contributing to the phase locking of our organic Merkabahs. Last but not least is a group of fake quote-unquote gurus out there pushing the New Age agenda hard. The term guru is totally usurped and distorted right now. It is used to mean to guide someone out of the dark, which is synonymous to ignorance, into light, which is synonymous with knowledge. New cult leaders right now, dark witches, fake teachers, so-called ascended masters, and fake shamans hijack the term for self-gratification, grandiose, and ultimately planetary control, because that's where they're heading to. Many of them unknowingly serve the archonic forces that feeds into the system of hierarchy, superiority, and control. The guru's agenda is a magnet for narcissists and a magnet for individuals who covet and lust for power and trickery of others for personal gain. They're plugged and they've plagued the New Age arena and have become really dangerous. We see them in tantric circles, we see them in shamanic circles and workshops, in wellness and breathwork retreats, tantric yoga retreats, many kundalini yoga retreats, all using that 9-dimensional caduceus inverted network to implant people. They do it by touch. They're unashamed. They touch people and they implant them, or sometimes through pineal transmission, sometimes through intention. When they get the permission, they can transmit the energy directly. These are aimed at hijacking Shakti from unsuspected individuals. And like I said, many gurus are unaware what they're doing. They think they're doing service to the world. Some do know, some do not know. Some have a clue, and some are clueless. These experiences, though, I've had first-hand experiences with them, not implanting or anything, but I've been with gurus and I know sort of how they think, and, thankfully not too many of them. These experiences on any level can be quite humiliating, can be disconcerting, and really dangerous too, especially when you give your full trust and submission to them, especially if there is physical contact involved. So moving on now to the last part of this podcast, I want to talk about how to discern false light and what they do or say that should be a red flag. Okay, so first I want to say it takes a high level of spiritual purification of one's consciousness to be able to really listen to something that a false light teacher is saying and distill the truth out of it. But also the opposite of this is true as well. Melchizedek cloister guardian groups always give you the answers to discern for yourself. Unlike the Metatronic and New Age cult, Luciferian groups, when we become activated, we can easily detect false light. False light teachers copy and spew true spiritual teachings. So they copy and they spew those true spiritual teachings and they credit themselves for it. They filter the wisdom, though, through their own distortions. So come down very, very filtered down, and distorted. This is why you can listen to a false teacher and they could be saying all the right things, but then it just feels a little off. The energy they give is a little off or very off. Maybe you'll get a strange sensation in your body, like it's just not sitting well with you. You may feel drained. That's happened to me too. I've had a lot of experiences, which is I'm grateful for, because this gave me the knowledge and wisdom to be able to, work my way out of all this and also come to a conclusion and a very good understanding of what constitutes true light versus false light. So I'm grateful for those experiences. We shouldn't hate on anything, but use it to improve yourself and evolve. So they use that through manipulation. Get a strange sensation in your body. Something just doesn't feel right. It's because that is because their internal fragmentation is so glaring that they just can't run esoteric teachings that they're mouthing through themselves without it bringing out trauma and pain. So they're unhealed, but they're trying to teach esoteric teachings and they just can't do it because it's just showing all the distortions through the energy field. And there's the nature of true esoteric teachings. When you truly run them through your being, they heal you by bringing to you awareness on your trauma, so shed light on your trauma and distortions. So that's the beauty of true esoteric teachings, is they highlight areas within you that you need to focus on to heal yourself. Remember, a false light teacher can't run these esoteric teachings without being caught, because by the time someone's crossed over to the false light and has entity attachments to such a large magnitude, the trauma in them is so deep and entrenched that immersion in true esoteric teachings will cause them unimaginable pain because of the mirror it holds in front of them. So they try to avoid it. It takes immense amount of courage and faith to be able to hold that level of self-awareness and the level of trauma and deep shame. If a false light teacher is able to move through this, there will no longer be false light. And it's incredibly rare for them to do so, though, once they become entrapped in the New Age false teachings, which is why they seem off even when they're sharing a spiritual truth, because they're just talking it. They're not embodying it. So we have to have compassion for them, and but not listen to them, just compassion. You're consuming their energy when you immerse yourself in someone's teachings. Everyone has a blind spot, so don't beat yourself up if you've listened to someone in the past, still do at the moment, where they're a false light and you weren't aware. You just you just have compassion for yourself, but try and realize where that triangulation is occurring, and really dig deep into yourself to know what's the motive and why you're being drawn to them. Maybe it's for healing. Maybe there's something subconscious that's moving you towards them. We all have distortions. All teachers have distortions, but there's a difference between a false light and a teacher who's committed to purity of consciousness. So we all make mistakes. We all have codes. I'm not free from Metatronic codes, but I am open to learning, and I will make effort consciously to always evolve myself. And I've picked my path, and it's the path of service, purity of consciousness path, not the promoting false light even after knowing that it's false light. This is where you draw the line. By engaging with someone who's pure intentions, the same commitment amplifies in you. So it wakes up something in you, triggers something in you. You'd want to follow that path, and then it awakens you, activates you to your own true organic template. By highlighting what constitutes false light, you'll be able to discern more appropriately. And this is what I'm attempting to show you here. Not so that we can focus on it and give it energy, but to give you, myself included, an impetus to amplify your own inner light and avoid the traps and the snares. So here is the most telling signs to discern false light, to detect false light, I should say. Now, I want to mention there are two types of false light. One who knowingly will know that working for the dark to ensure that you do not ascend, and another, they think they're working for the light, but they're not. They're clueless. There's two types. So here are the most common signs to look out for to detect false light. False light will tell you what you want to hear, not what you need to hear. They're initially pleasant until they've built a customer base, and when you have a large following, they become sour, bitter, even aggressive. Not to mention they have huge following because false light is easy to trap. So they become famous way too quick. And sometimes we don't know how that had happened. But false light is a magnet for people that need to heal. And they come to false light to evade all the healing, the true healing. Number two, they never teach the truth of the duality of dark and light. They never do. They may look like they do, but passively they mention darkness, like passively. If they do, without allowing you to question or without themselves questioning anything about the dark, even becoming hostile when you mention the darkness. They try to hide, delete your comments, and want to quickly move on to light, fluffy stuff only. Their content generally lacks depth. They lack depth. They can't back up anything they're saying because it's mostly hearsay and pretend channelings from an unknown being. And I like the term interdimensional because they use contact with higher beings to give you the illusion of superiority over you. I like interdimensional, but they use other things. They use like higher dimensional beings, or, because they don't understand the time matrix, the system that we understand if we study the freedom teachings. Nor are they even interested in it. So, we give them the benefit of the doubt and we say, okay, well, they don't know it. But when you show it to them, they're like, oh, no, don't want to know it. That's not true. Who told you that? And then they need evidence. And it's like it doesn't sit well with them, of course, because they're false light. They hide behind, number three, they hide behind the facade of true compassion. When in fact, they try to hide spiritual narcissism. So they want to show that they're all about compassion and love. Well, they don't stand corrected and they operate on an ego level. Not to mention they exude jealousy and controlling energy. Usually their followers feed them. If you oppose them, they block you. That's the first thing, guaranteed. They block you, they delete your comment, they axe you out. Number four, false light are stuck in victimizer programming. They share posts about the things they went through during their childhood and try and gain sympathy. When you do give them that sympathy, they hijack your mind and direct you towards false light. They entice the followers to do what they're told and have them participate in practices they know nothing about. So, this has worked for me. Come and heal yourself. And then they get them to do these practices that feed the black cube matrix. You have to be cautious of these communities that don't go deep into the true ancestral, galactic, and racial history. Excuse me. An example, a community I've personally encountered not long ago, they're promoting the concept of blissful place that existed a long time ago called Lemuria. They tell you it's a great place. People were benevolent, and even invite you to a Lemurian DNA activation session. They're using crystals, they're using sage. They will never tell you the dark side of Lemuria. They'll never tell you the betrayals that took place by the women of Lemuria, the old witchcraft groups of women who betrayed their men, who betrayed the Emerald Covenant, who sold their souls to the dark. They won't tell you this because they want to, they don't want to reveal that aspect of themselves that once upon a time, it's a true statement, it happened. They'll never ever go into the betrayals, the hijacking of mind and energy. They'll never show you the dark side. I'll just show you. It's a good place. Let's go and activate. Okay. Next one, false light, number 5. So the true, the false healers are envious of true healers. They block others. They go out of their way to undermine others whom they deem are true healers. Anyone who demonstrates a high level of intelligence and knowing is quickly dismissed, belittled, ridiculed, and ignored. Try and comment and show some level of intelligence, they ignore your comment because they don't want to give you, they don't want to give attention to you. So they try and, make you look like you're nobody. False light have an agenda, remember? So number 6, which means they're supported by, let's just say, the invisible powers that be. They tend to come out of the woodwork and suddenly become heroic in everyone's eyes, in the public eye. They say they don't expect any gratification or to be idolized, but deep down they're feeding on your energy. They love it. They gain these followings, but no one really knows why and how they just suddenly went, worldwide. Number 7, when you are around false light, you feel your power and freedom of choice is somehow limited and restricted. They often call it tough love, but it's just a facade to cover up their rudeness, their uncanniness, and their obscene behavior, and even cruelty. And the New Age arena is a magnet for these types of people. Like I said, they hide behind the facade of tough love. Now, tough love is good, but they hide behind when they use it to hide behind it, to fulfill their own agendas, manipulative agendas, then, question it, question everything. Here's an interesting one for you as well. So number 8, false light preach and teach unity consciousness. I once encountered a very well-known psychic on Facebook. I will say her name. First name is E, just the initial. Last name is Red. She preached that the entire Palladian collective is a positive race that follows the law of one completely. I asked her how she knew that. She said, I'm psychic. I connect directly with them. I tried to inform her politely that there's a body of knowledge called the MCEO teachings, namely Voyages 1 and 2. It shows and depicts a true history of all races, including the Palladian race, and explained that the Palladians were partially responsible, if not completely responsible in some instances, for destructions that have occurred, because not the whole race is Christic. Some are fallen. I proceeded to say that I would like to share this information with her because it's crucial that what she's teaching is actually trapping people in this whole, 100% give me your trust, give your trust to the Palladian race, and you're going to be saved. And she's showing that the whole Palladian race, she's teaching the whole Palladian race is to be revered and is more superior than any other race, and we should look up to them and give 100% trust. Now, this becomes a dangerous recipe for abductions and possessions, implants, mind control, amongst many others. What I said must have really triggered her. Instantly, she proceeded to remove my comments, messaged me privately and asked me not to comment again, and said this is not her experience with the race. The only time she in fact never experienced anything like what I'm saying. She called me false light, and she said I'm there to ensure that she doesn't fulfill her mission, which is to help people activate the DNA and their personal Merkabas. So she called me false light, which is what they do. And I didn't get angry or anything, but my heart sunk into my chest when she said that, because I can only imagine the scope of the destruction with like 50,000 something followers, preaching people to give 100% trust to a race that was responsible for so much drama that had occurred on Earth, including transposition of race identity of the human race, not to mention the Palladians sided with the Galactic Federation at one point in order to eradicate the human genome. And I'm not saying the entire race is fallen, but a percentage of the race is. So we shouldn't lend 100% trust. Therefore, we can't, have that blind faith on trust. It's very dangerous. Just because they possess knowledge and magical abilities, they're not necessarily using it for the goodness of humanity. False light number 9. They will never lead you within. They point you towards a savior, a messiah, energies, or themselves, everything outside of you. They lead you to a political movement, political figure who is going to stop all wars magically if they get elected. They get behind certain movements and make themselves look like saviors. And it looks appealing, I won't lie, but they usually have a sinister plan, so you need to be careful. No one can save you but you. Number 10, here is one that really, I think will surprise you. False light have empathic abilities. They're empaths. And that's where we fall in the trap. So someone displays empathic abilities and can sense things, and we're like, oh, they can sense things. They're higher beings. They're pure beings. But the false light, dark beings, dark avatars have high empathic abilities. They don't have compassion, but they have high empathy. Empathy, compassion are not one and the same. Empathy is the ability to understand other people's emotions, but not necessarily feel and relate to them. So they can detect how you feel right now. They can detect fear. They can detect anger, shame, if you're hungry, if you're jealous, if you're upset, if you're resentful. They can detect how you're feeling on a mental level, but they can't feel your feelings. They don't have those feelings. They have the lower frequency feelings, but they don't have the higher frequency feelings. They do this to manipulate your emotions, because when you can understand that the population is afraid of, for example, virus, then they can write up a very good plan to keep us triangulated in the fear, so they can continue to lose. They have to have empathic abilities. They feed on us for their advantage. In other words, they tell you they feel, but they can only read you. They like to keep a track of your movements and actions, because false light needs something to feed on. When you finally figure them out, they cut you off because you've worked them out. So be vigilant. We are living in an age of exposure, and truth is becoming known to us all who want to listen, who want to hear. For some, it's too late. They've fallen too deeply into the false teachings. Massive trap that can really hinder evolution and DNA activation. Many of us here are true gatekeepers who hold original codex DNA and access to the true library of records within us all. We all have the library of record. Many false light workers try to hijack these DNA codes to manipulate humanity. We get better and better at discerning and detecting false light as we activate and unplug from the Metatronics, and equally so from the hive mind. The main thing is never ever to give your power to an outside force outside of yourself. Love and truth shall prevail, evil shall perish, integrity is everything that makes us human. With this being said, I come to the last section, and I'm sorry this is lengthy, but like I said, I want to cover everything in today. In this last segment, I want to talk about what we need to do to override the Metatronic codes. So I'm not just going to say what's wrong with the world and just name the agendas and things like that. I want to give a solution as well, given to us by the Freedom Teachings. It goes without saying, effort, commitment is needed. Without effort and commitment, no change can be created. There is no magic wand. There is no savior. although I can say on a personal level, flame body activations have been quite magical. So yes, there is a magic wand, if you want to look at it that way, in my experience. And this can be true for you as well. When you begin, you will encounter some resistance. When you begin activating, you will encounter some resistance at first, because if there are substantial implants and heavy Metatronics, it's this higher frequency is going to hit like a wall and bounce back. So that's translates to like resistance, mental, emotional resistance. But after some time, with commitment, dedication, they will leave you alone, because in truth, they can't handle the higher frequencies of source, of pure unconditional love. So you keep yourself on that high vibe and things will just fall into place for you. We need to have real eyes and realize our priorities. The key thing for an indigo or a human here on a spiritual quest is to disidentify from what is not the true nature of the soul. Example, one's bothered by the affairs of the world sinks into polarization drama, conflict drama. At a higher level of our existence and being established and integrated within ourselves on a higher part, polarization doesn't actually exist. There's no place for polarization. Once one is no longer identified with anything, with any conflict, then higher bliss, God, love, bliss will begin to manifest, and the lower astral states of ecstatic bliss cease to exist. Higher bliss is experienced in silence, in peace. It goes way beyond astral, like states of ecstasy. Higher bliss is a state of that inner silence and stillness, stable, unchanging. So activating our spiritual vehicles is our ticket to freedom. In fact, all movement is an illusion. So energy is perpetually transforming. This is why we need to activate what we call the yanas, to ride the wave, as they say. The word yana in Eastern philosophy primarily means vehicle. Example is the Mahayana tradition, meaning the great vehicle. So they intended well, but then something happened along the line that became distorted. Yana, or vehicle in Sanskrit, is a mystical expression that indicates that we may escape the sufferings of rebirth and even false bliss by obtaining wisdom and knowledge which can dispel the fruits of ignorance and illusion, Maya. So we can. This is why we have the CDT plates. The primary purpose of the CDT plates is to teach us how to ride our vehicles, ascension vehicles, our yanas, our merkabas, to return home to our primary field of creation from whence we came. The term for this is Adashi cycle. It implies a birth and a return to the place of the void from where we originated. Not reincarnation and being stuck in third dimension. It's going through the whole 12 cycles of Adashi return to complete the picture and then return to a fully harmonized, wholesome, unified being with the Creator in the unified field of consciousness. So for this, what we need to do is utilize the technologies given. They're so needed at this time. I will delve into these technologies that have been given by CDT plate transcriptions that we know to be freedom teachings. So what we need to do in brief, now, to shield ourselves from the reversals and to activate our DNA, we need to do the following. I'm only just giving you a snippet of what we need to do just to give you an idea. I'm merely pointing out the most important steps to take to achieve this. For a full list of what is needed, please refer to the technique sequence on our Telegram channel. Alternatively, you can join our online teaching group. We'll be doing lives and interactions with the group members and sharing of the technologies and things like that. So it'll be more like a one-on-one, although it's in a group, but it's still more personal. So what you need to focus on in brief is the following. Focus on co-creation, the song of co-creation, the Amaria flame, the flame body activations, tweaking negative thoughts, focusing on what you want to create rather than on current events. You need flame body Amaria activation as a base minimum to hold your template integrity against the fallen net. And Blue Sword 666 Apollyon Seal D13 reversal currents. You need D12 Maharic Shield or Seal to reset your divine blueprint, flame body activations to connect to D13 Mother Arc in the God Eka worlds. It's time to breathe the flow of source again. We've been suffocated for so long. Technique 8, part 1 or part 2, consistent daily use of part 2 serves as an insta buffer daily supplement. So you do flame body techniques 1 to 7, you take 4 to 6 week break, and then you do 8. 8 part 1 needs to be done once a week. Part 2 is a daily buffer or a daily supplement to sustain your shield. Once you reach this level of activation, you can proceed to technique 13. You have to do them in sequence, but I'm naming the main ones. So technique 13, maximum twice per week for a period of 1 to 2 years, is so magical. It will clear major shadow dancer distortions and other minor elemental and figment attachments for most individuals. But the process may take longer for those who are carrying great amounts of DNA template Metatronic reversals, or who have entered the dark side contracts, or received the fire sword initiation of Archangel Michael in this lifetime or other lifetimes. You will need to build up slowly towards technique 13. It will assist in reversing attempting a wizardek body snatching. So this is how you protect yourself, is you do those frequencies technologies in some cases, but continue twice weekly after 6 weeks. Furthermore, use of technique will be needed for an extended period of time continually to keep the shadow at bay. Not for everyone, but those who are near full DNA template monadic reversal, they need to do it for a very long time to reverse the template back to, or to revert the template back to original organic state. In case of near full monadic reversal, that's when you lose your template completely or nearly completely. So when you have like 31 or below or under natural divine D12 blueprint in your template, as of March 2002, so from March 2002, if you've had 31 to 35% reversal in your template, the Amaria flame and Akasha Merkaba activation cannot fully anchor in your physical body, as there is insufficient time in one human contemporary lifetime to override such critical mass of Metatronic coding. But there's something else available. So for individuals experiencing this karmic dilemma, physical body Stargate Ascension in this lifetime is not an option anymore. But using technique 8, 13, and 14, Amaria Invitational Integrational Shadow, combined with Veka code technologies, will ensure, at least it will ensure a safe Bardoa, which is a natural death or death transition passage, when the natural time occurs, which is death in the physical, in this lifetime. This individual will be enabled to pick up the full Eros and Amaria body from D4 astral body level and proceed to normal incarnation, but a more advanced form of incarnation, more towards the full healing of the Christic code human body and toward the bridge zone space-time cycle. So that will begins the process of connecting with the bridge zone for complete healing. So it's like you're taking like a half a step instead of going full step. Okay, so individuals under the full Metatronic monadic reversal will be entering a different path of hybridization evolution within the Wizardek black hole system following the Bardoa transitions. These activation techniques are sourced from the manual on Freedom Teachings called the Shadow Body Healing and Flame Body Activation Manual 2002. So I just wanted to leave you with that. At the end, there is always a solution. So like I said, if you're interested in coming along, joining the group for learning, or if you want to do that yourself, that's okay. We share it freely on our Telegram channel. Just search for Collective Rising. And you'll be able to follow the sequence and do it yourself. And most of those activations are found on Telegram and YouTube or YouTube. So at least we now have the technologies. So yeah, it's an exciting time for all of us on the path of bio-spiritual regenesis. You have come this far, so don't give up now. Don't give up ever. You're worthy, you are powerful, and we will regain our sovereignty. It's something I always remind myself too, is I will regain my sovereignty. Where your intention is, this is where energy goes. So just keep telling yourself that I will be free, or I am free. Say it like you are free. Even though you know there's things that you're still working on, but you are free. And always stay connected with your Christos avatar self. And be empowered and free. Much love, only love. See you next time.
We are being programmed by twisted teachings. 80% good stuff, 20% twist. And if you don't know enough of the mechanics, you can't see the twist. We're being taught to project our thoughts in a way that will render us as undifferentiated units of consciousness, which are what other forces that have their consciousness intact use to create things with. We are being disempowered by a twist on us. Yes?
But wouldn't you consider that Buddhism was a form of detachment that is teaching?
Buddhism was originally part of one of the 12 tribes doctrines that were taken off the Dora plates. See, there are 12 tribes of angelic humans seated on this planet. Each one of them was given guardianship over one of the 12 CDD plates, Place of Dora plates. Those plates were created by the founders to hold a certain level of information that had to do with mechanics, with science, with social order, with spiritual development, with relationship to source, relationship to the other races. Buddhism was originally part of the sacred teachings. So was what we call Christianity. So was what we call the Jewish faiths. Originally, all of the religions on the planet right now represented a portion of one of those 12 plate teachings. When you put them all together, they gave the full externalization, to the degree that this stuff could be put into externalization, of the reality of what it meant to be a part of Source. Now, everyone, and this is what we got into in the Atlantean conspiracy when we talked about that in the England and Ireland workshops, where we began to reveal that information. There has been a progressive infiltration of our race lines here to create DNA mutation. There has been a progressive, there was a great house cleaning in 9558 BC. Literally, ships coming in and getting rid of, using photosonic weaponry, everything they could find that would give evidence that there were ancient human cultures that spanned millions of years. There was a house cleaning done. And then there were some stories taken. Stories from the original plates that have been translated were taken and twisted. Every one of the religions at this point has been contaminated. And you can read them, and it's like, how do you separate the shaft from the grain? You can't tell. The religions have been polarized, where one side is expressing truth, and the other side is expressing its opposite. And you can't tell unless you start to really get into the frequency behind what those words are saying, because words are mathematical programs, sound tones. So you asked about Buddhism. There are certain teachings in there that are true. You can reach a state, there are things that teach about nirvana. It's a certain level of consciousness that corresponds to, I believe, D11. Interestingly, home of the fallen Elohim, and a lot of other good guys too. But there are teachings from D12 that take you beyond the nirvanic state, which is your beginning of detachment from matter in order to flip through and make the transition into antimatter. Then there's a whole expansion again where you engage again. If you completely go into detachment, saying, well, it's all the same to me, you really think Source just says it's all the same to me, I'm going to go do something else, and just lets it run? See, this isn't what happens, but this is what the Anunnaki teachings or infiltration of good teachings has tried to do. It's tried to make Source out to be a force that says, oh, I created this, and I'm totally neutral, so I don't care if people are suffering and feeling terrible. That's their problem. They're down there now. They'll evolve to become bigger where they don't have to feel that anymore because they can choose not to identify with the pain. If Source were coming from that level of consciousness, personally, I'd want to find another one. If that was what God was like, because it would show me something that's different from me. Now, wait a minute, if we're all manifestations of God, yes, okay, part of Source might look at it that way. But which part? The part that fully knows itself or the part that forgot the rest of itself? The part that's in negative polarity or the part that's in wholeness? I know that beings, even in polarity, if their templates are intact with dimensional structure so they can receive the consciousness coming down from Source into their templates, have a huge compassion for everything, they progressively learn to embody the state called unconditional love, which is a state of vibrational harmonization or co-resonance between this and anything else outside of it, so everything becomes a part of you. When you are in a state of love with a thing or a being, you can compare it to your children or to something that really inspires that love feeling. It is the opposite of total detachment. Now, if you go for attachment, you end up strangling the thing you love and it runs away. You push it away. There is a balance between engaging and disengaging. There's a still point in between those two things that allows the state of love to happen. This is the state that Eastern religions were originally trying to help us develop that level of consciousness. But there are teachings out there right now. And, it's really funny. There are two basically infiltration teachings that are happening. You have three representatives on this planet here. You have people who are getting information from what's called the Draconian matrix, which is a D10 fallen angelic, the fallen seraphim matrix. They're the reptilian races, and like the Zetas and those guys are all of the fallen seraphim races. And then you have the D11, which is a little higher in consciousness, fallen Anu Elohim matrix with their Anunnaki contacts, and boy, have they been busy. They've been teaching us some great stuff. 80% good, 20% twist. And then you have the founders. The angelic humans of this planet are representatives of the founders. And there are some of the Anunnaki and Draconian fallen races who came into human form as part of the Emerald Covenant Bio-regensis program, so they could get their templates back and evolve to be Christed beings and beyond again. Right now, we're in an amazing period of time because you have all the forces confronting each other. And if you look at it in terms of matter, particles, antiparticles, and antiparticles, the Trinity, the Divine Trinity, it's even represented in the belief systems and in the interstellar contacts that are happening right now, and in relation to the people who are incarnate on the planet right now. There are people that are in human form, that appear to be in human form on the outside, who did not incarnate out of the human matrix at all. Some of them are Anunnaki consciousness that are good guys, that evolved and got their Christos template back, and they're here to help balance and heal the drama. Same thing on the Draconian side, but then there are also races we call the Illuminati races that are representing the fallen angelic creeds. One of the things the fallen angelics do is they teach you detachment, so you kind of walk around and not care much. How they control the people who are in human forms, which means they have the potential to evolve back to being Christed. How they control them is they make sure One level of consciousness can't talk to the next, where the people just see 3D and they don't think anything else exists. So if something comes and whispers, "Hi, I'm from a higher system, I'll give you this sacred knowledge, follow me, give me your power, and I will get you, to whatever it is you want," right? This is how people that were called the Illuminati races, the ones that work in certain aspects of world government, certain aspects of world religion, certain aspects of the world management team that we don't know about and we don't hear about on the news, that are controlling and running agendas here that are very, very detrimental to this planet and its people. They are really the greatest victims, but they're the victims of their own consciousness from the higher levels, because it's literally those people who have incarnated out of one of the fallen matrices. Now, they're all in Source. They're all parts of Source. That's why the only appropriate response to them is love. The only way you're going to heal them is to love them. But that doesn't mean just open your heart and turn your mind off so we can suck your energy off your astral body. Because your heart center, your fourth chakra, is your fourth dimensional aspect of your chakra vortex system, energy distribution system. Brings energy in from D4. It's connected to your fourth DNA strand template, and it's connected to the astral level of your biofield. So if something from D4 wants to feed off you, it'll tell you to open your heart and turn off your mind. You don't need to know that. Just let the angel handle it for you. All of this stuff is trickery. The founders will teach you that you have a level of you that is a founder. They will teach you that you don't need to worship a Christ outside of yourself because you have one right inside of yourself. You also have a rishi. Hindu religions talk about the rishis, and they have been twisted to where Hindu people will bow down and grovel and hand their power over to a rishi, because the twist has said that I have this, and I am a superior being, and you're a lowly being, and you don't have this, which is an utter lie. Any being down here, it implies the fact that you have the rest. What makes the difference between what level you will express compared to somebody else is how much of your consciousness you can get into your body. It's not that you don't have it already, because you do. We're all ascended masters. Now, we chose as ascended masters to come into a reality system with a specific template that happens to be our body blueprint. We chose why we wanted to come, and we chose our body blueprint in relation to why we wanted to come. If we came for just kind of like a sojourn through the densities, and I'll help out here and there, but we really had a real kind of tough time last time, let's just enjoy it and be, you'll come with a smaller DNA template, because you don't need to anchor so much of your frequency and your consciousness. It's still up there. You'll bring in to manifestation only as much as you need. It's energy economy. Plus, it's kind of like systems are kind of like classrooms that you apply for and see if there's room. If we all decided we were going to come into a system and be fully activated ascended masters, but it was only a density 1 system in dimensions 1, 2, and 3, ascended master consciousness is up in the primal sound fields, which has 24 times 15 charge, let's put it that way. You try to bring even one full one in, which would come into about 1,728 times 24 individuals, you blow the place up if you brought in too many. So it's kind of like, okay, I'll play Ascended Master this time, you'll play, root race person this time. But at a certain level, we know we're all equal. Same with the fallen angelics. They're not bad guys, because at that level, really, good and bad don't apply. God pretending it's awake and God pretending it's asleep is more like it. Because God wants to know itself. And if it's going to know itself awake, well, that implies asleep. What would that be? So there is a level where it is all okay. And there are teams of consciousness that come in, the Source manifests itself as, that are the balance keepers. They're the restorers when balance is out. They're called the security team. In this time matrix, it's the Azurite security team, which was the original race that was created to serve that purpose. A race called the Orifine came out of that, which meant sons of light, and not sons, boys, but sons, flaming balls of light. Yeah. Beyond gender, beyond polarization.